In this moment in Black history, American history, we bring to you the African American Civil War Memorial, or also known as the Spirit of Freedom statue. It pays tribute to over 200,000 African American soldiers and sailors who fought in the Civil War on the Union side. Sergeant Isaac Hall was one of those soldiers. We caught up with his great-great-granddaughter who shares his story.
My name is Diane Cross, and my great-great-grandfather, Isaac Hall, fought in the Civil War in the 32nd Regiment of U.S. Colored Troops, Company K.
When did the idea that this is something that is passed down in my family, this is oral history that I know, to the point where it was invaluable and you started doing the research and you wanted to start sharing?
I started really researching him about 30 years ago, but it wasn't until 2007 that I realized that, wait a minute, this is the Civil War. I can go back. And then when I started finding out things as the regiment, and also, more importantly, how he was enlisted in the service. He wasn't a runaway or anything like that. The federal government paid for his enlistment through the War Department General Order 329, which compensated slaveholders for the enlistment of their slaves. And that's a story that I don't think many people know. And that's when I wanted to tell that story, that it was the federal government. His owner received $300 for his enlistment, and that's how he received his freedom. Since he came in under that program, War Department General Order 329, I found an evidence of title, because you had to, in order to file for a slave claims, as they were called, you had to prove it was your slave. And to see a title, that someone actually had a title to my ancestor, that he owned him. And then I became possessed of him by reason of his being born in my service of slave parents in the month of March 1839. So this is a title that someone had on him. The one thing that people don't know is that the Emancipation Proclamation did not free all the slaves. And so in 1863, you know, if it had freed all the slaves, he would have been free then. But he wasn't free because Delaware was a loyal slave state. It was one of the 5 border states. It was Delaware, Maryland, Kentucky, Missouri, and West Virginia. So he was still a slave, and it was only through this War Department General Order 329 that he received his freedom. Whereas my slave Isaac Hall has enlisted in the service of the United States, now in consideration thereof, I, David Hall of Sussex County, State of Delaware, do hereby, in consideration of said enlistment, manumit, set free, and release the above-named Isaac Hall from all service due me. His freedom to commence the 3rd day of March, 1864, which was the day that he enlisted into the 32nd. Well, I am just so overwhelmed with pride. Actually, I have found my passion through him. I love to tell this story, because I never was a speaker together, but when I tell the story, it just gives me so much pride, firstly, that I can trace my ancestors' enlistment back 151 years. And to be able to tell people that had no idea that the colored troops, as they were called, even fought in the war, and that he made rank, he had a family. And even they said for him to have made rank like that, he had to show outstanding leadership skills. And it just fills me with pride, because we've always heard so many negative things, or not anything at all. But to have an ancestor that I can go back and trace his history, it's just overwhelming to me. And it just fills me with such a sense of almost joy that I can tell people this story.
Sergeant Isaac Hall was one of thousands who fought in the U.S. Civil War to win their freedom. We thank Diane Cross, his great-great-granddaughter, for sharing such a rare story. For Laurel TV, I'm Tamika Smith.